Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
I have no idea what episode this is, but James, we are reviewing the first 7 games of Game Week 37. 3 more to go. 1 more game week after that to go. And I almost feel like saying we can put this season behind us because it's not been great. But I'm in the best position I've been consistently throughout an entire season. So actually, I would say I should probably be looking at the season in a more positive light. But I kind of, want it done. And I think, James, I know why.
Because you put your assistant manager chip on Graham Potter?
Not only did I put my assistant manager chip on Graham Potter, James, it's game week 37. Explain to me how I've gone into this game week with triple West Ham, including Graham Potter.
Yeah, that's why I always saying it. Don't call us experts, right?
Areola, I played over Henderson, which because I assumed they would be drunk, and they will be, and Henderson particularly will be.
Yeah, we've seen that. Him and Will Hughes, my goodness.
Jared Bowen, who returned, and Graham Potter, and people that are new around here, who there won't be many, but you know that I obviously support West Ham. I've been being tortured by them all season. We've been rubbish, and yet game week 37. When you think we have information and know like, who's good and who's not, I've somehow ended up getting into this game with triple West Ham, James. So I think I need this season to be done. I need it out of my head.
Okay. How has it gone then?
So this is
I'm presuming you have one West Ham player that did well for you this week. But please tell me
Jared Bowen.
Jared Bowen.
Yeah. Jared Bowen. I am on 31 points as it stands. I've got Jacob Murphy to come in. Sorry, I should rather than use the FPL website, let me use
yeah, we should probably
FPL.
say we are pretty much recording straight after Arsenal and Newcastle on Sunday evening.
So live FPL tells me I'm on 32 points, although I don't know how that works because I'm on 31 on the official site plus Jacob Murphy's coming in for Isak.
So live FPL is clever enough to add Jacob Murphy's 1 point for you. I should imagine.
No, it's 2 points for Jacob Murphy. It's showing me, so I don't understand. But either way, it's a red arrow. All I've had so far this week, I had Watkins captain return. I had Rodgers, a little bit of a return. I had Jared Bowen, a little bit of a return. I had Mbomo, a little bit of a return. I had nothing from Murphy and nothing from Areola, and the flop from my assistant manager Graham Potter. So I'm on 32 as it stands. I still have Van Dijk, Guardiola, Aït-Nouri, Mo Salah, and Marmoush to go. So that could easily change. Looking at the effective ownership, I mean, Van Dijk is like 6%, Aït-Nouri is 15%, Marmoush is 26%. Guardiola and Salah are irrelevant. So there's still a little bit of, if one of those was to return handsomely, but I am a solid 10 points off safety. So I really need a couple of them to return to even hold rank. It gets me down to 127k. So yeah, it's pretty like if you play your assistant manager and 2 of the 3 weeks you play your assistant manager, you get a red arrow. That's not good. It's not good.
I do think you and others have been very unlucky with the way it's landed at the end. We always thought there would be something like a Vitor Pereira or something to get you out, and it's
not,
I guess
but it is.
I mean, arguably Potter was there as the one that's where I'd have gone this week.
Yeah, I know you mentioned it on your stream and what have you. So yeah, look, it is what it is. I'm not losing any sleep over it. I want to go into game week 38, and if I can get inside the top 100k, I'll be happy. That'll be a good season. The first time I'll have done it, and like I said, when I look at the season overall, right, I've never been really below 400k. I flirted around that when I played my wild card and boosted from after game week 28. I got into the 250k, then 150k, and have stayed consistent throughout. It's not been a bad season. It's just been consistent really throughout. So yeah. All
okay.
Good. What about you?
Yeah, it's been
Green,
decent actually.
Red, grey.
Decent green, 53 points at the moment. Up from 45k to 34k. I've got 3 to go, though Vardy is next to irrelevant. Salah is completely irrelevant. Cunha is the one really that I've got left. So I'm absolutely aware that there's others who are going to have 3 or 4 players potentially. And also, it's very difficult to look at ranks at this stage because you might have people who don't show up on Tuesday night, particularly, and then there's auto sub players in. You can definitely foresee that people would have like a Gibbs White or a Milenkovic on the bench this week. Might be.
Who's my next sub to come after Jacob Murphy is Milenkovic is 8 points, mate. So if any of Van Dijk, Guardiola, Eight Nori want to take a break, more than welcome.
Yeah, I mean, if Vardy no shows, I've got Kyrgios 7. If Cunha no showed, I've got Elanga's 5. So from that perspective, I'm pretty well covered. Differences for me to you this week. Yes, captain's Watkins, and zero regrets on that, considering the team my lot put out on Friday night, as we'll cover. Rogers Bowen as well. Bumo, I vice captained. How swingy was that? With no sooner we had a question. I don't. Was it you did it with me or Clates? It was a question on a Q&A that we did on Patreon. If you give one person a penalty, who would you give it to? And I said Bumo. So I've probably just
All
cursed the
right,
bastard.
okay.
So all of you Bumo captainers can
Yeah.
probably blame me. Visser's 10. And I finally had one of these double clean sheets that I kind of went with from the wild card come in with Pickford and Jacob Bryan returning for 13 points. So my only blanker at the moment is Nathan Collins, who I don't regret picking over Kivio. I can look at it and go, I would always say to people, pick the Arsenal player, but we really had identified that there was a bit of a weakness for Fulham defensively, and therefore I was chasing the mega haul. It's gone the other way. No particular
And we
regrets
didn't
on
know
that.
that Isak was not going to turn up, right? If you'd have known Isak was not going to turn up for
I
Newcastle,
would have picked Kivio.
maybe you
Yeah,
would have
no,
picked
I would
Kivio,
have. I would
and we
have.
didn't
Yeah.
know that he wouldn't travel. Yeah, so, Eddie Howe, thanks for the information, but you don't blame him for not telling us as well.
Rolled the transfer, 2 free transfers, 6 million in the bank. Think it will be targets between Arsenal, Bournemouth, and Newcastle for me, and I'm really not going to think about it too much till we get towards sort of Friday, really. But in my head now, if you said right, make the transfers now, I would probably be going Cunha to Evan Nilsson, Elanga to Saka, and I'd probably captain Saka. I think that's the most likely for me. But obviously, with the result we've just seen, I think if Isak's got one leg attached, he'll play for Newcastle against Everton next week. So if you're an owner, I'd be keeping hold of him, to be honest. And I might even punt to bring him back in because I know how this game works. People shit themselves and sell him. And I might even consider him as a captaincy option next week. But I do like Evan Nilsson potentially against a Leicester that have had their own little kind of Jamie Vardy party today. Potentially on the beach at Bournemouth, literally, next week. And by the way, eighth can still get a Conference League spot. It's not done and dusted yet. It pretty much needs Chelsea to finish 7th, which isn't that improbable when you look at it, and them to win the Conference League, which they'll be favourites to do so. Under that circumstance, I think it still drops. I think 8
Right.
still get it. So that's what I read from Dale Johnson on ESPN anyway. So I think 8th is still up for play, which obviously makes that Brentford result really disappointing today. Gives Brighton obviously a big chance tomorrow. And if Brighton slip, Bournemouth technically go back 8th if they win at the Etihad on Tuesday, and they've got the best fixture on final day from themselves, Brighton, Brentford, and obviously Fulham as well. Palace can't catch 8th, but they obviously had a great game on Saturday. Should we touch on that a bit before we do
Yeah,
the
I was going to
games?
say, before we get into the games, let's talk about the FA Cup final, shall we? Because I was an Eagles fan. I don't know, were you an
Most
Eagles fan
neutrals
on the
would be.
day?
If you hate
Yeah.
Palace, then fair enough. But otherwise, most people would have wanted them to win, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and I only watched the first half, James. But I did switch off at half time with the thought Palace are going to win this. It was one of those where it was written in the stars. Because despite City kind of dominating possession and what have you, and they did have a few chances, there was just that feeling of, well, they seem to be able to head it away whenever it's coming into the box or make a clearance. And Henderson's pulled off a couple of saves, saved a penalty. And the only attack that they've had, they've been so clinical, and Eze's put it in the back of the net. And there was just a story around, like, I think Eze, when we recorded, was it around Christmas we looked at the statistical pods or
What, now
or
where he
around
does in the
March?
summer versus the winter?
Well, just the fact that he is the most underperforming player against his
Yeah.
statistics. He then from that point has gone on to actually probably outperform his statistics, because since then he's been so consistent in delivering goals and assists and actually having some output. And for him to then get the goal, really talented player, just felt, great for them. Really happy for Palace. And I think for City, it's just
Yeah,
just
listen,
another final, isn't it?
massive congratulations to Palace. You and I sit here often talk about the relevance of winning trophies, and we can, even me and even Suj, but even before the conference, it can remember seeing coloured pictures of their team lifting trophies. Palace have never won a trophy bar like the
Never.
Zenith Data Systems Cup. It's their first ever major trophy. And some of them scenes in that red and blue end were great to see yesterday. So
But
congratulations to
even in
all
the
of our
first,
Palace
like
followers.
the atmosphere, just look in the first half when they kept cutting to the crowd, just looked like
Yeah, because it's everything
amazing,
for them, isn't it?
amazing. Yeah,
For
yeah, yeah.
City, it's just another final, and you're almost on a hide into nothing, right? You're expected to win, so if you don't, you become the headline. For Palace, obviously set up very much kind of how we'd expected. They had blows during the game. I think the first 10 to 13 minutes or so, Palace fans were probably thinking, oh my God, because it was wave after wave of City pressure. But once they held it off, and like you said, they basically scored with their kind of first proper attack. It did feel to me with the way Guardiola had set up that City had to score first. He built into like a 3-3-4 system in possession, like moving O'Reilly into left of a midfield three, KDB going to the outside as right of the three, left Marmoush and Haaland right up top, Savinho and Doku pinning back in as kind of wide forwards. And I thought it was a bit over the top, personally. It's easy to say in hindsight, but it felt to me when I saw the team, I thought City will either blow them away or they're in huge trouble here, because that didn't look like a team that was equipped to deal with Palace on transition. That's where strengths. And Palace got stronger and stronger. I didn't quite think at half time, all this is done. But it got to about 15 minutes to go, and I thought City are not going to score here.
Yeah, I get that. I think obviously statistically and on the balance of possession and play and the number of attacks and shots and all that, you'd think, how can you think at half time? But sometimes it's just written in the stars. You can see it that it's going to be someone's day today, and it did feel like it's going to be Palace's day today. And good on them.
It was a controversial moment in the game.
The handball.
Your opinion?
Well, as Henderson said after the game, who cares? Was the controversy being what, he was outside the area?
Well, I think most people think he should have been sent off.
Yeah, probably.
I don't.
I don't know.
I think
Instinct? Is it because it's instinctive reaction?
no. Well, I think it's worse in the sense that it is intentional. There's a couple of things that's interesting about it. One, Haaland, who was very quiet, didn't appeal for it at all, which I thought was strange because surely you'd be looking down and you see the line and you think you'd be going nuts, wouldn't you? And it was understandable why the officials on the field never saw it. I think if Haaland does get a touch to it, he's pushing it quite far away from goal. So
Yeah.
if Henderson takes his hand away, Haaland is only going to push the ball away to goal. I think, therefore, inside of Henderson, there are Palace players on the cover. So I think it was the right decision. He's obviously not endangering the opponent in any way, right? As he gained a clear advantage, yes, correct decision for me would have been a free kick and yellow card. By law, it's borderline, but I think the fact that he would have gone away from goal, I would have edged towards a yellow rather than a red. And I think that's the decision ultimately VAR had made as well. Whether there's any influence in the occasion, i.e., if it had just been a game in the
Regular
Premier League
game.
this weekend,
Yeah.
if it had been a red card, you can't know the impacts of that. I think generally speaking, we'd rather that something borderline like that wasn't a red card, and that's how I feel about it. So he got away with one, no doubt about it. The idea was like, yeah, I carried it into my box. No, you didn't, mate. Definitely got away with it. But yeah, brilliant result for Palace. The team Tuesday will be interesting. I mean, what is it? By the sounds of it, the players have obviously had today off training, and it sounds like they're going to have tomorrow off training as well, which is a bit mad when the game's obviously on Tuesday. So is it just like rock up and how do you all feel and I'll pick the team? Is
I
that what
do
it is
think
like
so.
Tuesday
I think
morning,
so.
basically?
Yeah. I think so.
Mark Gay went off injured, so he almost definitely won't play. I
Yeah.
thought Jeff,
He had
Jefferson
a head.
Lerma Jefferson Lerma did
Depending on
really well when he came on at centre back. I thought actually Richards and Lacroix so non-fussy. Munoz is well, I spoke about him a bit
lightning,
last week.
lightning, and an engine that just keeps going.
He seems to get stronger the longer the games go on.
Yeah,
Ridiculous. He should
yeah,
be one of the highest priced defenders in the game next year, in my opinion.
yeah. It would definitely be five and a half for sure. Let's see
It can't be
how they
more.
do
They
it.
can't make him six, right? He
No,
was
I
kind
don't
of
think it'll be
saying.
6, but I think five and a half.
I think on his returns this year, you would argue still for five, but I think at five, almost we'd look past the fixtures now and I'd go, oh, I've got to have him because he's the player that can hurt me the most this game week. Basically, he's him. Um, Hoping therefore, obviously, he's kind of like a one pointer off the bench towards the end. So I think like Mateta owners, I think and Ketchup will probably play up front, but Eze, Sarr, probably still play. I think. For
Yeah.
City, huge game obviously Tuesday night.
Mm. And what do you think about the penalty taker situation? Do you think Haaland is
Uh,
the designated penalty taker? Marmoush just took this one, or do you think he'll stick with Marmoush?
Henderson's comment afterwards about it, he knew he's
Which
like
way
I don't.
Marmoush should go? Yeah,
Yeah, that was really interesting. I don't know if it was kind of like subtle dig afterwards. I don't think Haaland's great on penalties actually.
I think he's missed. He's scored 4 out of 7 this year or something. He's missed a few
Well, I
this year, hasn't he?
think he invariably, kind of four times out of five, he will go low. So if the
Yeah,
keeper goes the right way, he's potentially in trouble. He doesn't lift his penalties enough to second guess. I can only really think of a penalty late at Tottenham game week 37 last year was a lifted one. Normally he's along the ground, left or right. So if the keeper goes the right way, he's in trouble. Henderson, we know, is really good at saving penalties. That's been proved over a long period. I don't know, maybe Haaland didn't fancy it. But I was sitting watching the game with my dad, and I said, Marmoush will score. He's a great technician.
penalty taker.
Yeah,
No,
I did fancy him to score, but it was strange. Yeah,
yeah. Let's see. Well, we'll know on Tuesday night when City play Bournemouth.
4 points. 4 points will get them Champions League, but I don't think they want to be putting themselves in a position of having to win at Fulham.
On the
It's
final game.
beautifully poised that at the end now. With essentially, it's obviously going to be 3 from 5 to finish in the top five. Newcastle obviously no quite straightforward beat Everton they're in, but from Chelsea, Villa, City, and Forest, they've all got
Yep.
very challenging final day fixtures. It would be a shock
Two
if
against each other,
Newcastle.
right?
It would be a shock if Newcastle didn't get the job done against Everton and finish third. But yeah, like if Chelsea lose, they're out, aren't they? Basically, they're not going to
Yep.
be in the top five. And if Chelsea are winning, then there's little Villa can do, I guess, assuming
Mm,
City do enough as well themselves.
yeah, we'll see. Cool. Let's talk about the games in this game week, starting with your club, James, who are away at Aston Villa. You've not got a great record against them recently, and they've gone and won 2-0, which we expected. We expected you to rotate, which you did. And they came on strong in the second half, got their 2 goals, bish, bash, bosh. They are still in the running for Champions League. You don't care. You've got something more important to worry about.
Oh, you'd noticed, yeah. I do think, and I'd stand by it. I think at the start of the week, the intention was to play quite a strong team. And then I think after the Kulusevski injury, I think a lot of conversations were held within the players and the manager, and an agreement was made. Do you know what? Save it. I think
Yep.
particularly with the guys defensively and in midfield, it does look like perhaps Sam might have picked up a problem in the game as well. So he was one of the potential options to cover this gaping hole we have with no Madison, no Kulusevski, no Bergval. So he's going to be doubtful now. I think Son will play as the 10 on Wednesday night. I think that's what he's probably going to do. We actually started all right considering what we had. There was a clear strategy of going to like a 4-4-2 block off the ball and purely play with the pace that we had on the break to expose. And we had a couple of good efforts early on. Son had one coming off the left-hand touchline. We put a beautiful counter-attack move together that ended with a brilliant effort from Odebear, which Martinez did well to save. But from that point on, it was just a case of could Villa raise enough momentum because you could feel the anxiety even through the TV. You could feel the anxiety of
Yep.
we know this is their reserve team. They're a bit fragile. And yet at half time you went, yeah, Tottenham probably deserve to be in at 0-0 at half time. Actually, it's been fairly even in terms of chances and stuff. And Emery was getting frustrated at the start of the second half and he was spot on. Calm down. Because against that back line that we had, it was inevitable that players would tire. and they would create chances. And they've ended up scoring. The first goal is just it's nonsense, pathetic stuff from us from a set play. Watkins heads down for Konsa, who's returned a nice 15-pointer for those who own. I saw a
Mm,
few Konsa and Cucurella owners
oof.
Friday night. I don't think anyone's bettered that with defenders this game week. And then from there, game done, and Villa
Done.
could have ended up winning 3 or 4-0 if they'd have really wanted to. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the way Tottenham started. Defensively was okay first half. As soon as first goal went in, yeah, game done. And as I said earlier in the pod, absolutely no regrets on Captain Watkins. I was
Yeah, me
going cold.
neither.
I
Me
was
neither.
because I joked about it weeks ago. I said, look, he's going to be the best captain in 36 or 37. I just don't know which week yet. And obviously, in hindsight, actually, I should have captained him in 36. I think he was my highest scoring player. But against that Tottenham team, I was going cold on it because I was thinking, I think Romero and Van der Ven will play. That was my opinion at the start of the week. But as it progressed, it was like, nah, there's no arguments. And all the feedback once the team dropped from people who hadn't done it was, I'm in trouble. And actually, most of the chances just didn't particularly fall to him, actually.
Well, look, there's anybody sitting on Villa assets still. You've got Manchester United away after they've had the cup final this week again. So I'll be playing Rodgers. I'll be playing Ollie Watkins again this week as well, and they need to win. We don't know what state Manchester United will be in, so all's not lost if you're owning Villa assets
I
at all.
can't make my mind up what's better for Villa from the final Wednesday. Is it better for them to play a drunk Manchester United? But by the sounds of things, it's just going to be more a quiet barbecue back at the training ground and stuff. Um, and but the positivity vibe will be back because they've won the trophy. Or are they better off playing a United that's just miserable? Like, what do you think is the best? The best like
We played a rotated, because either way I think it'll be rotated, positive Manchester United after the cup semi and beat them, and we're rubbish. I don't think it matters, James, which Manchester United they play, a positive one or a deflated one. I think Aston Villa can beat both comfortably, particularly because I think Manchester United will rotate a little bit as well, because they'll need to end of the season and stuff.
I'm not sure that Villa will win at United next week.
Yeah, no, I don't see that. I think they will. I think they will. Um,
Segway.
Chelsea 1, Manchester United nil. I think we both called this as a low scoring Chelsea win.
I feel like that about all Chelsea games at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Reece James, beautiful delivery for Cucurella on the goal. Just, yeah, really nice cross. And overall, I mean, what are your takeaways from this? Anything that we can take into the final game week?
Most important thing for Chelsea was obviously to win, right? I think you could see
Mm.
Jackson was a miss. I think George did okay up front, um, but it just gives an outlet that's better for the others in terms of having a target properly. I was surprised at the lineup that Lavia didn't play, but wasn't surprised that Reece James was selected at right back. Um, Enzo Maresca's comments on Thursday suggested he really wanted a nine, so I thought he was probably going to play Neto through the middle. I think George might play again at Forest final day. You're going to be probably more confident about possession numbers, I think, at Forest. And despite the fact Forest legitimately have to win the game, the best way for Forest to do that is obviously to draw Chelsea on them and try and spring. But I do think Chelsea are one of the best set teams to deal with transitions in this league, with particularly Casado in midfield is so strong. The be one end all for Chelsea from this game was the result. I don't think any of us would go and attack their assets for final day. Those who got
No.
Palmer probably hold, I think,
Yep.
but there will definitely be a temptation to go to Saka. And I'd also understand that as well. But there is definitely relevance on this Chelsea game, and that should be remembered. And of course, although Forest will want to draw Chelsea on, if the game is 0-0 with 15 minutes to go or it's level, at some point Forest are going to have to gamble, right? And we saw the kind of elements of that when they lost at home to Everton. That late goal, I mean, that point might have been quite useful for them in hindsight because their goal difference is better than Villa's. I thought Adarabioyo played quite well at centre back. Actually, was really surprised that Chalobah didn't play. But the big takeaways for me, Suj, and I was obviously watching this through Tottenham eyes, was my takeaways on Manchester United. And I speak about them a lot on Gary Robinson, with Gary Robinson, you'll hear on Tuesday's Clash to Correspondence, which we've already recorded. I thought United looked physically strong and ready for the fight. So Tottenham played a passive tactical game at Aston Villa. And there were a couple of occasions, particularly in the second half, where both Bissouma and Richarlison hesitated on tackles. I don't even want to say pull out; they just hesitated, and they're not the type of players that would hesitate. United
Okay.
didn't. United did not play that game with any hesitation until quite late on in the game. Once a few substitutions had been made, they were physically playing the game like it was important to them, and I think United deserve a lot of credit for that. And when I look across their team now, and the options they've got for Wednesday night, basically bar Martinez, it feels like everybody's kind of nearly ready to go and they look physically strong. So if United do end up rotating on Sunday, which I'm not convinced that they will, Serge, I just think physically it's going to be a stronger looking team than the team that lost to yourselves or the team that lost to Wolves. I'm certainly not recommending that anyone kind of takes a Man United player as their punt for final day. It's actually probably more a little bit of caution on Villa. United will be rightfully favourites Wednesday night. They looked physically strong and ready to go. And I think they were a little unlucky, actually. By the end, it was the
Okay.
right result, but I think they were a little bit unlucky.
Yep. Let's talk about today's games, James. Everton 2, Southampton 0. I really did think Everton were going to run away with this, and at some point in the first half, it kind of looked like they really were. I mean, they racked up a big XG, and Beto's chances, offside chances, could have been 3 or 4 up before Southampton even got a look in. And a good send off in the end for Goodison Park. Though at the end, I think Southampton tried to make a fight for it because they even racked up 2 big chances and a 1.2 XG, which, considering how dominated they were up until that point, good rally from them in the end. But I think Everton will be happy to take the clean sheet away, wave off Goodison Park, and onwards and upwards.
Yeah, party for Everton and rightly so. The game was played at complete testimonial pace. I mean, Southampton didn't even have a shot in the first half, was so ineffective in the game, and Everton could have gone in more than 2 up. But you are quite right. Yeah, I was watching the end of it thinking, I wasn't thinking the double clean sheet was going to go actually, but I was thinking, like, sort your life out, Everton. Although
Yeah.
not helped by Jared Brantwaite pulling his hamstring and going off injured. So you've now got a scenario. This is what I mean about Isak. Oh, panic! Isak didn't play. Sell him. Everton are going to go to Goodison with nothing to play for final day, with no Branthwaite and no Tarkovsky.
Definitely no Brathwaite, or we think no
100%
Brathwaite.
he's done his hamstring there, mate.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, yeah, he's done it. Going off the touchline, he feels for it. He signals. Yeah, he won't play at Newcastle.
Okay.
So it's probably O'Brien and Keane, which also is a knock-on consequence. Probably means it's, say, Ashley Young at right back. Seamus Coleman started, which I thought was a nice touch. He actually picked up a bit of a knock himself as well. So that's what I mean. Someone like Anthony Gordon, I quite like as like a final day punt, potentially playing on that left-hand side against Everton. Both goals scored by Ellerman and Ndiaye. Now, if you gambled on Beto and McNeil and Decore, be a bit disappointed. Kind of feels like Ndiaye hogged it all. I suppose Everton fans are saying Ndiaye will always love you as they leave Goodison Park, right? Do you like that?
Oh, nice. Boom, boom. If you want Whitney Houston puns, this is not the show to come to.
If you did go for Everton players, you're probably not intending to start them at Newcastle final day, I would suggest. So they're obviously
Yeah.
expendable. If Pickford is your best goalkeeper choice, I wouldn't fret about it.
Yeah.
Just get on with it.
Play it. Yeah.
He loves it there, doesn't he? Although someone did raise a really interesting point. I think it might have been on Marsh James' stream, possibly. Asking me if he thought Pickford would play at Newcastle, and I was kind of in my head why. When it was because of the playoff final. He's obviously the day before, isn't it? Is he going to be all right? Is he going to be able to contain himself if Sunderland get promoted the day before? And my answer was, listen, if Sunderland win, Pickford will be wanting to give it to the Geordies because he does like a bit of banter with them, doesn't he? So I wouldn't stress about that. Obviously, you're not going to be investing any Southampton players for final day. One note on them for final day: Taylor Harwood-Bellis was in real discomfort when he got helps off the pitch, and obviously Jan Bednarek didn't play either. So where their team's been quite settled recently, it might be a little bit decimated for the visit of Arsenal next weekend, which does, I think Arsenal go down and win about 4-5 nil.
Yeah,
By
comfy,
the way, yeah.
comfy. Cool. Let's talk about West Ham 1, Forest 2. Yeah, it's just depressing to have to talk about. If I said to you, there's a Nottingham Forest game, the opposition are going to have 60% possession, Forest will only have 40% possession, you'd probably turn around and say, Forest are going to win then, aren't they? And that's exactly it. I mean, they racked up 5 big chances, James, to none
Well,
for West Ham.
it's a shame that you didn't start playing football till 4 o'clock, mate.
Uh,
You weren't really interested. You could tell that the game was way more important for Forest.
Do you know, like the kids were all running around at the start of the game. Aaron Creswell having his send off. Quite a lot of players being let go this summer. Soufal is being let go this summer. He's having his wave goodbye to the fans and all that. I did think it was unprofessional was probably a bit harsh, but it did feel like there was more of a party atmosphere than they deserve to be, considering how shit we've been. And it being about the final day of the season, there's still another game to go. But, saying goodbye to presentation for Creswell from Nobes and all that kind of stuff. You're right. It did feel like there was more. There was definitely, obviously, and there is more on it for them than for us.
But I
wanted a little bit more. I wanted a little bit more professionalism.
Yeah, but I mentioned it because when you got Needley at the end, they were worried. Once you started committing a bit physically to the game, they were on edge.
We've seen it before. I think we are the masters under Potter of flattering to deceive. We look okay and we look quite good in patches and periods here and there, but all fart and no poo. There's nothing going on there from West Ham. I was disappointed with the lack of. We try and sometimes we have a good odd attack here and there, but there's no substance or consistency behind it. Whereas they don't need a lot of the ball or what have you. When they go for it, there's a little bit of a game plan and cutting edge to them when they attack, and with Elanga and Gibbs White and Wood, they can score at any time, whereas I don't feel like we can. I thought they played the game perfectly. Yeah, we'll give them a bit of a scare at the end. We were never going to equalise.
Mr. Bowen's in some form now, isn't he, Suj?
Oh, isn't he just? And he's like the shining light in amongst that squad. But yeah, I mean, anyone who's owned him for a while, I haven't looked just like back at week by week, but it feels like he's returned every week for how long?
Last 5, he's got 44 points.
Yeah,
he blanked at Liverpool.
7, 8, 9, 10, 9. That's solid. Yeah, he's a hell of a player.
What would you say to people who don't own him for final day? Because obviously his ownership, he's not huge, but he's not in punt territory anymore. He's just a good player to buy, isn't he, for final day? What would you say to people who don't own him? Because you do go to Ipswich last day, right?
I would buy Trossard over Bowen, because I think he will start for Arsenal against Southampton.
No one wants to buy a player they think's going to start final day, do they?
I would possibly. I mean, what I'm doing, looking down the fixtures, James, is thinking, where is the £7 million, £7.5 million midfielder that you would buy ahead of Jared Bowen? Maybe, I don't know if none of the Bournemouth guys, even though they've got a good fixture necessarily.
I think Gordon.
Gordon's a good shout.
Yeah.
Gordon and Barnes obviously started today. Whether or not that will be the case when Isak comes back
Gordon's
in.
ownership should be really low. That's what I mean. But I suppose
Bomo, if you don't own him, but he's a bit more expensive. There's not many other places you would go. I get that.
If you're in a position where
if
you're in a position where you're trying to protect rank and you don't own him, I think you're going to want to buy him. He's definitely going to get
37% EO for me. Yeah.
I've definitely seen a few creators out there talking up the idea of captain Jared Bowen next week, and from a form perspective, you'd have to say he's the one, arguably. Yeah, he's definitely captainable final day, despite how shite you are.
Yeah,
because the reality is, if you have a good day, he definitely
scores.
Will.
Yeah, such a talisman.
And it's a beautiful finish for the goal today, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but we know he's got that in his locker. He's a very, very, very good player. I almost begrudge him having to play for us, honestly. He should be playing for a better team. But
well, careful what you wish for,
personal. That's my personal frustration with West Ham. But we'll be talking more about that on Tottenham next week when we've wrapped up the season, and we can let rip into my team. And you may need to let rip into yours. Forest, you own Elanga at the moment.
Well, I've got
He's
three of
still a
them.
good shout. Milenkovic, I benched this week. Who are your others? You got Sells in
I've
goal.
got Sells and I got Williams.
Yeah, yeah, decent.
I
Although
think
obviously
at the
the late.
moment, the way it's probably going to land for me, I mean, it's Sells and Pickfords. I think, listen, if the final day goes well for Forest, you can foresee them winning 1-0 if it goes well for them, and Sells racking up an 8, 9 pointer or so, couldn't you? So I think I have to pick him on that basis. Williams less so. Whams for me in terms of playing Williams might be influenced by Whams with Cunha because at the moment I've got the confliction of Collins and Cunha. So I'd rather go for an all-in strategy final there. If I sell Cunha, I might still go with Collins. But I'll ever think more about Forest Chelsea and what I think because going back to what I do say about Chelsea, I feel like it'd be low scoring again. And the fact Chelsea don't have a recognised nine at the moment, like is there a narrative there where Forest beat them 1-0 final day, for example? Could be. So Sells I'll play. Nico Williams is 50-50, I'd say, at the moment. Elanga I've got on the bench at the moment. I mean, at the moment, I've got Morgan Rogers bust to play ahead of him, but ultimately, I'm probably going to buy Saka and play him over. I'm going to sell one of them and play him over the other one. I'm not benching Salah, Boomer, or Bowen.
Yeah, I can
And if
understand
and
that.
if I get Evan Nilsson in, I'm not benching Watkins or Vissar. So
It's a
Elanga.
it's a fair sub to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably there'd probably be a choice for me to make whether I sell Elanga or Rogers and which one stays as first sub. But I think with the players I've got, probably not going to matter. I can't particularly see it being needed actually. So I don't think I'd go and buy Forest new. Yeah, maybe the message might be that it'll be low scoring next week. I want to talk about Murillo. Obviously, him being back was a huge bonus today.
Yep.
But what did they do to him at half time?
I don't know because who Moreno or what have you was warming up at half time, and the
Morato.
comment Moretto, sorry, and the commentators were saying Murillo's coming off probably because he's injured himself, and
He couldn't even walk off the pitch
he
at half
came he
time.
came he came
He
back.
had his arm wrapped around two people and
I
was
don't know.
moving at a snail's pace.
I have no
And
idea.
and then he's there
But whatever
coming
it
up for the
is,
second half.
please send it to us.
Yeah,
You get these physios on Twitter or X or what have you that whenever a player gets injured, they analyze it and they say we think this, that, and the other. They must surely know what drugs they've been
do,
pumped into him
do
at
you
half
remember?
time.
And obviously, look,
The classic pick me up.
Jamie Carragher said when he limped off, you remember he limped off late on at Palace and he did come off quite late in the game. And Jamie Carragher said, look, he'll be fine for the weekend. No one limps that badly, like almost like he's over
It's
egging it.
exaggerating it,
Now,
yeah.
he didn't play against Leicester, so he obviously was injured. But the way he was walking off, there was no way he was coming back out for second half.
Yeah, but I don't think he was faking it to.
You wouldn't have been doing a random drugs test after that game. You'd have been going, he needs one.
Yeah,
Because he looked fine and he
I
played
I don't
well.
know.
Him and
Yeah.
Milenkovic have been such a brilliant partnership for Forest this
Yep.
season. Um, I'm really key to what they do. Gibbs White had periods in the first half was just absolutely purring. I went back to kind of this diamond shape today with a Langer right up the top with Wood, and I really like that. And I think that's how they should set up against Chelsea as well, because Chelsea will try and overload the centre areas if they're set to protect that. I think that's the right play as well. So I do think Elanga will probably play through the middle again with Wood, which would mean Hudson-Odoi wouldn't start. Big win for them. I'm pleased that they've at least taken it to this final day and not just been, oh, you're going to finish seventh. I'm quite pleased for them.
Yep. So at Brentford 2, Fulham 3, Brentford might feel that it's a little bit of a stretch for them to keep that eighth position, but they're in the driving seat as it stands right now. Fulham closed the gap to only 1 point. It's a real shootout now, isn't it?
Well, it's not driving seat if Brighton get anything, obviously,
Well,
against Liverpool
they got
tomorrow
the game
night.
in hand, but points on the board versus games in hand, I'd take the points on the board as it stands at this time of the season.
And I think they've got a tougher fixture on final day than Brighton as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's why
Thanks.
I'm concerned that they're not going to
Thanks for
hold
supporting
it.
me. And also knowing that Bournemouth will probably beat Leicester as well, right? So, yeah, look, disappointing to have been ahead. And obviously, Boomer has obviously had this penalty save, which is essentially it's like a 9 point swing, isn't it? I think if he scores for owners. So captainers have ended up on 10. So I suppose 20 point. Is it 20 point swing? Would he probably been 30 pointer, I suppose, probably.
Yeah, what with the bonus and everything, probably.
Near enough anyway. Yeah, I 28 maybe. Yes, you've been obviously pretty unlucky there from that perspective. I can't believe they've lost the game from a position of being in front, actually. Tom Cairney got the equaliser. See, he's been linked with a move to Wrexham, that we spoke about on Money in
No,
Football a couple of weeks ago.
is he?
He's been, because he's out of contract, he's been linked with a move to
Oh, fair
Wrexham,
play.
reported 50 grand a week.
That's big money for Championship.
No shit.
Big money for Championship.
They're not messing about. Keep an eye on Wrexham next year. Great result for Fulham because they've been kind of really indifferent with their own results recently. Obviously lost. They probably even feel even worse about losing at home to Everton last week. But I did say in the build-up, I said I don't think Fulham just throw in the towel as in they're on the beach here, literally, because there is a little bit of rivalry between the two teams. And they've obviously kept themselves in contention, but for them, obviously finishing eighth would still be very, very difficult, considering they've got Man City final day as well. But a really good result for them.
They got the worst goal difference out of all of them as well.
I suppose for those with Fulham assets, the likes of Robinson or Sessegnon, who didn't start today,
Maybe
or even
Jimenez kicking around somewhere.
yeah, or even Iwobi, I think you probably all had plans to probably bench it or move it on to something else anyway.
Yeah,
So I don't think you've been investing in Fulham new, and I think the investment for Brentford's already been and gone, hasn't it? Like if you didn't,
yeah.
if you're looking for a midfielder punt for final day, I don't feel like Kevin Shadow's the choice now.
No,
I think it would
no.
be different ones, and I wouldn't necessarily rush to go from like an Elanga or a Rogers to a Sade. Wouldn't be on a agenda either, and I don't think you truthfully fancy them for a clean sheet at Wolves final day either.
No. Agreed. Yeah, yeah. Agree with all of that. Though I'll be playing in Bomo. You'll be playing Vissa last day of the season,
Oh,
right?
no doubt on them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, to be to put it the other way, there'd be no thoughts of moving them on whatsoever. In any case, even if it does pan out that it feels like there's nothing to play for, their games have been enjoyable for a while, right? Their games feature goals. So I did even think someone asked me this morning, like, what would you change on your predictions now that the cup final would obviously Palace won? I said not a lot, but I did think to say I feel like there'll be more goals in a Brentford game now.
Right.
But I thought Brentford would get more. So yeah, great result for Fulham.
Leicester 2, Ipswich 0, Jamie Vardy. I haven't seen his goal, James. I haven't had a chance to catch up on that. But was there a shithousery celebration to go with it?
It wasn't a pull from a corner, so I apologise to everyone. I might have gave that impression that Leicester would get a penalty. There's this brilliant image of him after he scores where you can see he's obviously in front of the away end, and you can see the scoreboard at the other end has put up like 200 on it. So he looks like a really iconic image, and he's not, by the way, but the image makes him look a bit overweight. You'd like, yeah, it's time to finish, Jamie. And I know he's not overweight. He looks after himself really well. But if you look at his stomach, it looks like something's popping out of his stomach. It's like, yeah, time to go and have another pint, Jamie. The most inevitable goal scorer of the weekend, mate. I'm
We
sure
talked about it.
Who free
Oh,
hitted stuck him
I
in.
see
I'm
this
sure.
photograph. It's on the BBC website.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it?
Yeah. Because his shirt's riding up.
Yeah.
It looks like he's got a bit of a beer belly, but yeah, I'm sure someone captured it in just like, even if you capture that same photo, maybe 3 seconds later, it wouldn't look so bad.
Yeah.
So someone somewhere's got it. But it was always going to be about Jamie Vardy. We knew he was going to score. We thought Leicester were going to win. It's played out exactly as that.
That said, I mean, I've not seen a lot of the game. I know the patrons were, I guess, are overseas and not doing dodgy streams. Were saying Ipswich started the game really well, actually, and Leicester, the kind of goal came from a period where Leicester had finally got a foothold in the game. If you look at the statistics, there was only one big chance in the game that fell to Ipswich. Have had double the shots, XG is essentially nearly double as well. So. Does sound like Ipswich were a little bit unlucky and probably a bit disappointing for them, I should imagine, as well, because Leicester have obviously leapfrogged them. Goal difference kind of near identical. Leicester got the 3 point advantage. So if it does swing, Ipswich will finish above Leicester. Leicester just need a point. Do you think Leicester be motivated for that final day in any way to finish 18th?
Premier League is £2 million. So I think the fact that they'd taken over £2 million down to the Championship with them probably will keep them quite motivated. I'd say so. Yeah, I'm sure the players will be on enough of a financial bonus to make it worth their while. Yeah, I do think they will.
But for those who missed it, Jamie Vardy will not play. I'm sure
Yes, it's already
everybody has
been
seen
said,
that
right?
news, but yeah, 500 appearances, 200 goals. He didn't want to make it look like a darts match, so he's decided to call it quits now. Um, I wouldn't be punting at whoever would come up front for Leicester next weekend instead. They've actually done all right, taking 7 points over the last three, Leicester. So it wouldn't put me off buying like an Evan Nilsson next week, though. I wouldn't be.
No.
I wouldn't be put off from it at all. No interest, obviously, investing in them. No interest investing in Ipswich either. Notable that the lap didn't start again. And I know one or two on my deadline stream were asking about him because again, it's like it's still sitting top of my ticker, even going into the final two. I was like, yep, I would have Ipswich playing Leicester West Ham as probably best. But I think it's been clear he's been carrying this problem. There was reports Friday night that his entourage may have been at Stamford Bridge to speak to both Chelsea and Manchester United. So I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't even start the final game.
Okay. Right. Arsenal 1, Newcastle nil. Arsenal, James, have secured second spot in the league now. When you look at the league table, their draws this season, 14 draws, is ridiculous. It sticks out like a sore thumb as to what's really held them back this year. Best defensive record, only 33 goals conceded. But yeah, second for Arsenal. Newcastle, I guess the big story for them is no Alexander Isak, which we didn't know about, didn't see coming, and hopefully he should be all right for next week. But did have an impact on the game.
There's been speculation with Isak over the last couple of weeks that he might have an op at the end of the season.
Yeah, groin injury, right?
And Newcastle said officially minor groin problem, and they have said the
Yeah,
word minor. I think a decision was probably played here because essentially for Newcastle today, in terms of their Champions League ambitions, it was always the case that there's kind of going to need 3 points. Two draws was probably going to be a problem. So drawing today in the context of trying to qualify for Champions League, what I mean is if they'd gotten it late equaliser, it wouldn't have changed the fact we've still got to beat Everton this weekend, right?
yep,
So I think the decision was made to make sure that he's right for next week. Rather than play him, it might still go wrong and then maybe go into the pressure of the Everton game and him not be there. And it's like, are you looking for him? And I think that might be the decision of what's happened here. I would be really surprised. We say, you hear managers say it sometimes. If it was a cup final, we'd have taken a chance on a player.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
this
yeah.
effectively is for Newcastle, okay? It's last day of the season. There is no after. So if they can get him, let's be honest, and I'm sure Newcastle fans would agree with this, a 75% Alexander Isak will be a better option for them than Callum Wilson or William Masula.
Yep.
So I think he'll play. So I really want to get that across to owners. Don't panic. It's a long week. Deadline's not till Sunday. You'll probably know where you're at about Friday. Although Eddie Howe is not going to say to you, he's out or he's starting. So prepare yourself for that now. But I would think he'll play. I think he'll be kind of a big narrative in the kind of the hour up to deadline. And them Newcastle United ITKs are always reliable, Suj.
Well, I was going to say you can't trust them as far
So
as you can throw them.
therefore, I probably wouldn't chase buying him in, and clearly he's maybe carrying a problem, but I certainly wouldn't be rushing to sell him because I'm more looking at investing in Newcastle than potentially taking their players out. And as said, I think Anthony Gordon really stands out as an option. I thought, by the way, I thought Tino Livramento was absolutely outstanding again today. Defended Saka so well, which is obviously really difficult. Really carried the ball well, particularly in the first half when they were playing the back three. He was moving into inverted positions from wing back into midfield, which allowed Gordon to
Okay.
keep pulling wide, and it opened up a real outlet for Newcastle. Really, really good player. England have gone for a position of having no left backs to having in Lewis Skelly, Hall, Livramento, some really good options in that position, and Luke Shaw's fit just in time for the Europa League final.
Yep.
I would be surprised if Newcastle didn't get the job done next week. For Arsenal, it's not as clear as you might think it would be. Now, the first bit of information, which we didn't have when we pressed record, so we do have now, is that Mikel Arteta has said that William Saliba he felt something in his hamstring in the first half. Now, you could read into that and say, well, he made it to half time and they've decided not to take a chance. But I also think in my mind, well, you've got Southampton next week. Again, if it was your cup final was today, if you want, and I know
Yep.
Arsenal didn't have to win, you'd have thought he'd keep on playing. I would be surprised at this stage if Saliba, now they've obviously secured second, I would be surprised if he was risked at Southampton next week.
They've got Calafiore, moved Tierney there. They've got enough players they can figure it
Well,
out.
Calafiori and Kivior did really well in the second half. Calafiori, we know if he's in the team, and admittedly it might be at centre back, so it's not quite the same, but he does have the knack of finding himself in some interesting positions offensively, and I think he's got the smell of it even from set plays. But it probably makes Kivior the safest defender to buy this week now, if anyone needs to or wants to do so. And I think if people are moving from Saliba, I would just move to
Yep.
Kivior. I think.
Really, just go
Yeah,
sideways.
yeah, I think so. It's one game, isn't it? You can't
Yeah.
you can't think anyone's more likely to keep a clean sheet next week than the best defense in the league against the worst attack.
Yeah,
That's
last day of the
literally what.
season, the one transfer you want to make in game week 38 is Saliba to Kivior.
Yeah, but I think the
Oh,
principles of
that's dull. But I
no,
get it. If Saliba's not going to play and you got the perfect team everywhere else, I get
no,
it.
I would
It just doesn't
rather
inspire.
if people have got free. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, and admittedly, but the thing is though, Suj, you do this goes the other way, so you can spin a narrative either way. You look at examples like Cucurella and Concert this week, and it's like if you
Yeah,
hit it. So which
it's
defender's
massive.
most likely
Yeah,
to rock up with 15-pointer this week? Well, he's
probably an
probably
Arsenal
him
one.
or maybe Calafiori
Yeah,
now, isn't it? Right?
yeah,
It's not like
yeah,
their
yeah,
fullbacks are hyper
yeah.
aggressive either. So it probably is from set plays. So I would consider that. But I also agree that if you've got a shit defense this week, I would prefer you chase the offensive points.
Mm.
If you're sitting there going, well, I'm going to have to play like Williams or Milenkovic against Chelsea, I would be buying an attacking player. I wouldn't be fretting, oh, I've got to get Kivior in because it looks better. No, I would buy an attacking player. So
Yeah,
I agree with, but I agree with both aspects of it. In
yeah.
one game, this is an interesting point. In one game, who's more likely to get you a random 15 pointer? Is it a defender or is it an attacker?
Defender, a defender, because you're to do that, you're banking on a clean sheet. So the clean sheets are given, and then one attacking return. To get it off a attacking player, you need two returns. And I get a clean sheet is a return, but I don't think of it in the same way. So yeah, I'd say defender. Though if you look over the course of an entire season, attackers get double-digit hauls more than defenders do.
The attacking positions is not as straightforward as it might have been. It's easy to look at this and go, right, it's been Saka, Trossard, Martinelli. Marino was
For
obviously
Arsenal, yeah.
suspended today. And Havertz is obviously back as well. So who's the attacker that definitely starts next week?
Saka. Saka.
I think he'll end up being the most popular captain next week.
Yeah, no
I
surprises
don't
there.
think look, he's obviously come off with sort of 20 minutes to go today. No sign of an injury. And I think he's not at 100%. Possibly as well, he's obviously come back. He's played them intense Champions League games, and now you're probably on a come down. Bukayo Saka does not need to be 100% to smash the living daylights out of Southampton, I don't think. And what I watched of Southampton in the first half today would suggest there'd be some good stuff for Saka and Arsenal next week. As I said, I think they'll rack up a proper score next week, actually, with everything relaxed, go and entertain for the day. I'm not sure if Southampton will be able to resist that, particularly if Harwood Bellis, I assume, is going to be out. If Bednarek's out as well, that's messy again for Southampton.
Yep. Cool. That's a wrap on the 7 games we've had so far. We will cover off the rest of the games in the second half of the week. But before we do, James, you're going on a little trip to Bilbao. So the content this week, do you want to let everybody know what we've got planned or what you've got
Yeah, there's
planned,
none.
pre-recorded, ready, all set up? I don't know about if there's definitely content this week. There might not be the week after.
We'll talk about that more to the end of the week. We are going to take a little bit of a break for sort of 10 days or so from I think Thursday the 29th, I think it is. And
Yeah.
then we're going to take a 2-week break right at the end of July before correspondent week as well. But otherwise, sort of between June the 9th and I think July the pretty much the period of the Club World Cup. Not that that's my focus, but pretty much during that tournament, we will continue podcasting in some form. This week, as I said, Clash of Correspondence Tuesday with Ricky and Gary to preview the final. And then they've got a quiz with the two boys on Wednesday, which is on the two clubs, previous meetings, their history in Europe, also some Europa League final stuff as well. I will tell you now the difficulty level on it is hard. If you don't want a hard quiz, don't do it because I put them two boys through the ringer because I watch
Oh
Tottenham
wow.
every week. So yeah, but they both do all right, but it's tough.
Okay.
No content Thursday. Suj will be back with me for Friday. We'll talk about the games from Monday and the two games Tuesday. And yes, of course, we'll talk about the Europa League final as well. And then consequences for final day. We might have a look at Arsenal a little bit on Friday once we know exactly what the table looks like and stuff as well. Because I know a few would have gone 36 to 38. I've got pod out on Saturday as well with Gary Mansell, our Chelsea correspondent, talking about final day for Chelsea and obviously their Europa Conference League final with Betis the following midweek. And there will be a deadline stream on Sunday for those on YouTube, as long as there isn't too much of a party happening down Tottenham, because if there is, I'm not doing a deadline stream. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. There's still plenty of content there. Got Nico's Corner out on Monday. Got a brilliant quiz that Alex Trembath has hosted for me on Tuesday. And by the way, plug, brilliant appearance he had on Talking Tactics for me this week, talking tactics for the Europa League final as well. He's done a quiz for me, Suj, on what the correspondents said. So he's picked a quote that all of the correspondents have said on a podcast at some point this year, and I've got to try and match. I've got to try and match them up. It's good fun. We've got differential show previewing Gameweek 38 on Friday, and my Ask James stream is going to be available for patrons on Saturday morning this week as well. There is plenty of additional stuff from advanced tier patrons as well. The majority of it being written and filmed out in Bilbao.
Lovely jubbly. Have a great trip and enjoy it. Before you go and leave us, do you want to do a few of the questions on Twitter before you go?
Yeah, you look at Twitter and I'll
pull up Blue Sky.
I'll pick out one from Blue Sky because we haven't given much people time today. But FPLSK says best triple captain for final day.
I mean, do you want just to pick the safest? I suppose you have to pick the player you think is going to score the most points. And I think Saka, sure. Yeah, fine. But if you want, it feels like on the last day of the season, you should go a little bit different just for the hell of it. So I'm going to say Evan Nilsson, but really the answer is Saka.
Evan Nilsson is going to be the most popular forward by this week by a distance, I think. In the same way, I mean, the surge for Watkins was insane.
Huge.
The people saying to me on Friday, I'd like, I want a differential because Watkins' ownership been like 10% the week before. I was like, if you want a differential, you ain't buying Watkins anymore. You're overlooking it. And I think that advice, by the way, has paid off for a few. It's easy to think. I had so many people say I'm chasing, and then they're saying to me, I'm selling Haaland. What are you selling Haaland for if you're chasing? I get it. He didn't look great again yesterday, but there'll be one or two out there with Haaland captain Tuesday.
At any moment, he can go off. Him and players like Cole Palmer and what have you, the quality that they've got in any given game, they can go off. So I wouldn't be selling players like that if I owned going into the final game week.
Don't rule out Mo for final day. Look, it's final day of the season at Anfield. They'll be having a party. I mean, Palace are obviously now going to be having a party with them. If Mark Gay's missing, I know Lerma did really well when he came on, but it's just more of a relaxed vibe. And Gay obviously plays in that left side centre-back role. I wouldn't rule out Mo. Almost even more so if he blanks at Brighton and then he needs returns for whatever he's looking for final day. Isak don't rule out, particularly if obviously he's given the thumbs up. I really like Anthony Gordon as a potential. That's the sort of player that could haul in a game at St James's Park, isn't it? I wouldn't go to the likes of Watkins, Boomer again this week for the armband. If you were going to go Jared Bowen, I'd be surprised if I don't end up with a captaincy on Saka.
Yeah, indeed. FPL Rhinos, has the West Ham game finished yet, or are they still checking VAR?
For those who didn't see, the game finished at like 4:26, and obviously Arsenal Newcastle was scheduled to start at 4:30. Do you think they were starting to shit themselves at Sky in terms of what they were going to do?
It's so stupid. It's so annoying. And you know the whole crowd are singing fuck VAR by the end of it as well, because it's just completely ruining the experience. It's one of them where if it takes that long and you can't figure it out, just call it as on-field decision and let's move on. Like, how would you feel if they put a timer on VAR? Like, after 2 minutes you can't decide, then stick with the on-field decision.
I wouldn't even make it that long.
I didn't want the goal. I say I didn't want the goal disallowed. I did want the goal disallowed because it was against my team. But also at that point, it would have been really unfair to disallow the goal. I thought it would have been a really harsh disallowing of a goal. I just wanted it that would move on. Just get playing again. It
No,
was
I
stupid.
want it personally. Look, I'm never going to get rid of VAR, so I want to start doing things that's going to make life a bit better. I want 30 seconds. If ordinarily we all know in 30 seconds. If you don't
I
know in
think
30
so.
seconds, bollocks to it, honestly. Most of us can look at a naked offside and semi-automated. This was part of the problem today. I have a little bit of sympathy today in the sense I know what's happened. The semi-automated didn't work, right?
Yeah, and it can't when
Yay.
there's loads of bodies. We had the same thing with Arsenal in the semi-final of the
Okay. So
Champions League.
now you're relying on manual judgment. So now this is what's happened. The more you've taken the power away from referees, which I know what people want, but the more you take the decision making away from them, the longer they're going to take. Because now they're panicking. Now they're having to do something that's not them. So they know now if they get this decision wrong, it's on them. So they've checked it inside and out. Right. I don't know about you, but by the second look, it was fairly clear that it was Dominguez that was kind of in the offside position when the ball was struck rather than Gibbs White. Gibbs White made a movement to the ball. Dominguez, as the ball comes towards him, he's closing his eyes and ducking.
Mm.
And that's what they looked at for 6 minutes. It was fairly clear there was no reason to disallow the goal. Get on with it, man.
Agreed, James. Agreed. Good. There's a couple of other questions around captaincy and stuff that we have discussed. Though there's plenty of comments in there that are saying, "No question, James, but enjoy Bilbao. Good luck and have a great trip." So I echo all of those sentiments. I
Thank
think
you.
that there, as a neutral, obviously, I'm being a London club. I'm probably hoping Manchester United win. But I was thinking about this the other day. There's probably as many anti-Manchester United fans who
No, yeah.
probably want Tottenham to win as well. So I think they'll be fairly split in terms of who does and who doesn't win in the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you
I'm not
don't
bothered.
support
Let's
one of
crack
the two
on.
teams, it's probably a hate watch, isn't it? You're watching it because you want to
Yeah,
see
it really
Tottenham lose or
is.
you want to see Man
I
United
want to see
lose.
Manchester United lose, but I have more friends that are Tottenham fans, even though they are the enemy. So I'll be happy for them, including yourself, if you win. If it's United, it's United. It really does feel like, how did one of them two clubs get into the Champions League when you look at the league table?
Oh, do we not
But
do
go
we
on.
not want to pull Palace out? Because oh, Palace finished 12th, can't have them in Europe. We don't want to talk about that now. Or it's just the Tottenham and Man United thing, is it?
No, because there's a difference between Europa League and Champions League, I think.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Yeah, yeah. You know, Champions League is that elitist, James. That's for the Super League wannabe clubs that for the rest of us, Europa League, Conference League, that's all right. As you're about to find
Okay.
out by maybe trying to win it, and we shall see.
All these good luck messages, just one thing. Do you think they're actually wishing me good luck for the final? Or is it the fact they now got to spend 80 hours with my father? What do they think it is?
80 hours with your father. I mean, look, it'll all be documented. And if you want to see James's pain and document
Will
it, you know
do.
what to do. Head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL and support the show, sign up and join us. There is a post there that explaining what's happening over the summer. But if you do want to join us for the final few weeks of this season and the content as we get into the summer, we'll be happy to have you over there as well.
Like July's free in it, so like
Yeah,
support us
exactly
now,
that.
innit?
If you join now, you'll pay for now, you'll pay for June, you won't be paying in July, and there will be content in July, and then you'll be ready for August when the game reopens, season starts, and well, the game will obviously reopen in July, but when the season starts in August, you'll be there and happy to have you. And you'll be part of the FPL Planet FPL community on Slack and everywhere else. Cool. Chill out this week. Some European games, a few more Premier League games to go. So don't rush with your transfers. Stay safe, look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other and play it your way. Cue music, please. Man child. Go Spurs!